There are moments in life when something quietly cracks open inside us, not through efforts or striving, but through stillness. For many people, healing does not begin with answers, it begins with a feeling, a glimpse of peace that makes us ask, what if this could be lived, not just witnessed? Welcome to Healing Horizons, the space where we explore pathways to healing that honor both the inner world and the lived human experience. I am Yusuf, and today I'm joined by Stuart Perrin, who has spent decades exploring meditation and inner development through a non denominational, heart centered practice, now shared across 4 continents. In this episode, we are exploring meditation, healing through chakra development, and what it truly means to transform inner chaos into an open heart filled with compassion, joy, and patience. With that, I welcome my guest Stuart Perrin to the show.
Yes, thank you. What a great introduction. Thank you for having me. It's a joy to share this with you and people in India and people all over the world.
Thank you so much, sir, and let's just get started.
Okay.
Okay. Stuart, your journey into meditation begin at a deeply human and vulnerable moment in your life. Please tell us about that moment.
Yes, my the beginnings of my meditation, what influenced me profoundly, began when I was about 16 years old. I was 16 years old. Uh, I was on vacation with my mother and sister. We were in Florida, enjoying the beaches, the sun, and got a phone call that my father was very sick in the hospital.
Mm.
And we immediately got a plane back to New York, went to the hospital. My father was lying in bed. He had 106 fever. He didn't recognize my mother, myself, my sister. He was like in a coma. And this went on for maybe a week, maybe a little more.
Mm.
I'll never forget, I walked into his hospital room one day and he was lying in bed in a state of complete serenity. It was amazing. I never saw my father, I never saw anybody like that, frankly. The room was full of light. There was an energy in that room that just was something totally extraordinary. And I looked into his eyes, I could see 1,000 miles of his eyes. I never knew my father to be that way. Pretty tense guy, and like most people. Uh, I asked him, "Do you know me?" And he said, "Yes." And I remember I left his room for a minute and I bumped into his nurse in the hospital corridor. Well, God bless her, and this is a long time ago. Uh, she changed my life. She said something to me that was so profound. She said, to her experience, just before people die, they go into this state of deep inner peace, serenity. It's like they've let go of everything in life. They're no longer fighting and struggling with life. They've completely let go. And I said to myself, why did my father have to wait 49 years to experience this state of inner peace 2 hours before he died? I said, Stuart, uh, I was a pretty neurotic kid. I was very confused. I had a lot of tension, insecure. And I said, Stuart, there's somebody in the world who can teach you how to find that inner peace.
Yeah.
It began a journey. And spent traveling halfway around the world looking for that person. I was in Europe, Africa. I was always on my way to India, thinking there was some Swami there that would provide me with that kind of wisdom. Uh, and after 9 years of literally making myself crazy, traveling like this, and looking and searching, came back. I had no money. I was living in Paris. I got in touch with a friend of mine. I said, can you please send me a ticket back? to the States. So he sent me a plane ticket, and I was living up on the floor of his apartment. I was broke. I had no job, nothing. And he said to me, Stuart, let's go out and have some dinner. There's a place in Greenwich Village we used to like to eat, a restaurant, a Mideastern restaurant. So we're walking down 7th Avenue South in Greenwich Village, come to this Oriental art antique shop full of Buddhas and Shivas and Krishnas and Tibetan paintings and, I mean, a lot of museum stuff. And looking in the window, and this friend of mine knew that I love this stuff. I used to go to the museums and look at this kind of thing all the time. And he said, "Why don't we go in?" I said, "Charlie, I'm broke. What am I going to do in there? This stuff is very."
Mhm.
He said to me, "It doesn't cost to look." Those were really sacred words. It doesn't cost to look. And I went into the shop. Standing in the middle of the shop was a man, and the energy coming out of him was almost like the energy that was coming out of my father when I saw him in the hospital just before he died. There was light coming out of him. There was this deep sense of peace coming out of him. I was attracted to him like a magnet. But and he started showing me pictures of himself studying with a guru in India. And he started showing, and then he said to me after about 5 or 10 minutes, he said, "If you want to study with me, come back here tonight at 5 o'clock." On the way out of that shop, I looked around, and I mean, what I saw coming out of that man changed my life. And I said to this friend of mine, I don't know what happened there, but I got to go meet this guy again.
Mm,
We went out and had dinner. We went back to his apartment. And this will tell you how the world works. When you're ready to meet a teacher, the whole universe begins to work for you. We're working up this tenement building, kind of in a slum in New York at that time. It was like a slum there. And we met a guy on the landing. He said, "Why don't you come into my apartment and have some tea?" So we said, "Okay." We walked into this guy's apartment, and he had probably close to a $500,000 Oriental art collection, Asian art collection in this apartment. I'm talking in a tenement apartment, and bathtub in the kitchen, toilet in the hallway. You know, I said to him, "Where did you get this stuff?" He said, "There's a guy in Greenwich Village named Rudy, who I happened to have met an hour before. He was the man in that Oriental art gallery who I bought this stuff from." And I said to myself, "Stuart, the gods are talking to you. Once in your life, listen." The next day I went down and met this man, and he taught me exactly what I was looking for. How to
mm,
build an inner life and at the same time be able to live in the world and be happy living in the world. How to be build an inner life and embrace life instead of running away from life and hiding in caves in the Himal or ashrams and monasteries. Life itself became a temple. And all I had to do was learn how to build a chakra system inside myself that enabled me to do this. It was exactly what I was born literally in the South Bronx in New York in a tenement area. I was kind of street kid when I was younger, and, living in monasteries, and that it never really appealed to me. How can I make life sacred? How can everything around me be part of, the creation and sacred and important? And the meditation he taught me, took years of studying. And mostly I discovered one important thing. I wasn't up against anything in the world but myself. I wanted
mm,
to master the chaos inside myself. And as slowly over time I began to master that chaos, life itself became a teacher. Life itself became sacred. One of the greatest things my teacher Rudy ever told me, I'll never forget it. I've been studying with him for about 4 years, 5 years, and he asked me to go to Texas and wanted to start a meditation center down there. And there's a group of young people that were interested and they told him they need somebody there to teach. So as I was leaving, he said to me one thing I have never forgotten. He said, "If anyone ever asks you who the guru is, tell them the guru is life." And it took me 20 years to truly learn the meaning of that. It wasn't something that I could intellectually figure. And as I began to recognize, Stuart, you are not the guru. Understand, your job is to help people get strong enough inside themselves so they can sit in front of the real guru, which is life, their business, their family, their friends, who they socialize with, what they do every day, and their unhappiness, the pain in the heart. You understand? All of it is the teacher. We need to learn to listen to it, and then we need to learn how to work inside ourselves to develop a chakra system that's strong enough to allow us to truly have a spiritual life. And it was a journey like no other, because suddenly life itself was the greatest adventure. Drinking a cup of tea, walking, reading a book, work. I was I was in business for 30 years in New York City. And one of the greatest things I learned in business was how to transform money into a spiritual life, how to use the money that I had to make. And New York is like Mumbai and Delhi, a very expensive place. And I had to be able to live there. I was running a meditation center. How can I transform all of this to something that connects me to a higher force in the universe? And it was amazing because then suddenly life itself became an important teacher. And I began to listen. And I no longer complained about the difficulties of life. How can I use them to grow? Why am I attracting them? Not, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong. The politics, the greed, all the money things that go on. Why am I attracting these things in my life?
Mm.
Attracting them because they are telling me, Stuart, you got to get stronger inside. You've got to be able to transform your inner life to a place where these things no longer bother you, where you mastered the internal chaos. And it was the kind of meditation I'd always been looking for 9 years. And then I've been practicing it now for, well over 40 years and teaching people all over the world what I learned from his pictures up there from the person who trained me this way. I remember once we were sitting, the truth, we were sitting in a satsang with a Swami from India who talked about the Guru is God, and if you worship the Guru, you will get spiritual enlightenment. And he went on for an hour like this talking. My teacher, Rudy, was sitting behind me. He whispered in my ear, Stuart, God is God. The best the Guru can be is the servant of God and the servant of his students. What was etched, the humility was so extraordinary because my teacher, Rudy, was perhaps the most powerful human being I'd ever met in my life. For him to say that to me was such a profound teaching, but I have never forgotten it. My job is to be a servant. It's not to be the guru, to help people find their path. And each path is unique. If I ever sat down to teach a meditation class and I saw 20 or 30 stewards sitting in front of me, I'd run out the door. Said, no, I'm here to make clones out of each person must find their own unique path to God. All they have to do is develop a chakra system that's strong enough to make this possible.
Mm. Stuart, you speak about mastering inner chaos and transforming it into an open heart. Where does that inner chaos usually come from in people?
Well, I can explain it very clearly. There are 7 chakras inside a human being. There's one third eye in the forehead, the throat, the heart, right below the navel, the sex, the base of the spine, and the top of the head. Each of these chakras is a direct link to higher creative energy in the universe or God or whatever one wants to call that. The chakra below the navel, third chakra inside us, is one of the it's the real strength, it's the real power inside a human being. The Chinese call it the Taotian, the Japanese call it the Hara, and they talk about qi. Qi is the real power inside a human being. Most people spend 98% of their time in their head. They're thinking all the time. Their minds are full of conflict and polarity and a great deal of tension. There's no balance. It's all tension and it's all conflict that goes on here. It's trying to analyze the world instead of building a system inside that enables us to just live in the world, to be in the world. The chakra below the navel is the strength. And what it does, it enables it to handle three things. The first one is karma. Why are we born here? We all, what do we have to do while we live here? Well, the ultimate goal is to truly open one's heart. But we need that power inside ourselves, that strength to be able to deal with our karma. The second one, spirit. Spirit is not some hors d'oeuvre. Spirit, even I always say in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna reveals himself to Arjuna, it's as if the light of 1,000 suns suddenly appeared in the sky. It's all of life. It's all of death. It's everything from the beginnings of time that manifests in this energy. We need to be very strong inside in order to be able to receive that force of energy from the universe. If we don't develop the chakra below the navel, that energy force, it could just burn us up. It's too powerful. We need to have rootedness, foundation, and balance inside us. The third element is Kundalini. Kundalini is the pathway to enlightenment. It's a force of energy that literally is asleep at the base of a human being's spine. And when we draw energy through the sexual area to the base of the spine, it activates Kundalini. Kundalini will rise up the spine into the crown chakra, in Sanskrit, the Sahasrara. And that chakra will open and allow the soul of a human being to connect with the soul of the universe. It's the pathway to enlightenment. There's also a very powerful energy. And if we are not grounded inside, literally, I can tell you that there are sanitariums full of people who have had Kundalini experiences, spiritual experiences, and they literally made them, it just tipped the balance. And so they didn't have the strength inside they were doing LSD, they were doing marijuana, they were doing some kind of hallucinogen. It released that Kundalini but they didn't have the strength inside to deal with that kind of energy.
Yeah.
And they wind up in sanitariums, these people. Because they didn't build that kind of inner strength. I truly believe that we are born to do this. So whether it's what I teach or somebody else teaches, we're born here to learn how to build that kind of. It is the covenant a human being makes with God to build the strength to be able to work out their karma, living in the world, becoming a happy person, living in the world, receiving spiritual energy, and then ultimately attaining a state of spiritual enlightenment.
To it, for listeners who want to learn more about your meditation practice or explore this work further, what is the best place to find you?
Well, there are a lot of places. One is I have a website, Stuart Perrin, STUARTPERRIN.com. I have a very interesting website that deals in many aspects of what I teach. People can go there. It's online. It's open to anyone who goes there. I teach classes 7 times a week on Zoom in what I practice, and I have people coming to the classes from South America, I used to have from India too, although the time frame is very difficult with India. Uh, Europe, from the Middle East, you all over the United States. They're open. I don't have a fee for this. I don't charge for this. I tell
Mm.
people, yes, I need to live if you make a donation according to what you can afford. Somebody can't afford anything, they're welcome in the class too. They will get strong enough to one day say thank you and make a donation. Look, there's about 1,400 lectures I've given on Facebook and
Wow.
on YouTube, and I have books that I have written. I just published a book. Here, I have it here, called Rudra Meditation, Transforming Life's Tension into Joy and Love. I mean, person can buy this book anywhere in the world. I mean, Amazon sells it, and you can buy it in India, you can buy it in Europe, you can buy it all over the United States. All you need to do is go to Amazon. It's there, and they will deliver it. And another thing is that it could be bought through any bookstore that uses Ingram Spark as a distributor. And most of them is the biggest distribution company in the world for books. I'm readily available. I always I always welcome new people. I
Mm.
I always looking for really great students, people that can learn what I have to teach. And it's a joy. It's a joy to share what my life is about, sharing what I learned with other people.
Perfect. And to all our listeners, all these links are in the show notes. So just go and check those out. Stuart, if you have one last minute, what will be your final message to the world?
We are born here to be happy people.
Wow.
I always tell everyone happy people are enlightened people. People that live with their hearts open, that have compassion, that have love inside them, joy. A big one is people that can forgive other people and themselves for all the mistakes everybody's making all the time. So that kind of inner strength, and it takes remarkable inner strength to just live with your heart open, is really, I think, the purpose of why we all come to the earth, to learn how to do this, to learn how to transform all of the suffering, all of the pain, all of the difficulty into an open heart, into love.
Thank you so much, Stuart, for joining us on Healing Horizons.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me and letting me share what I've learned in my life with people. God bless you. Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure. And to everyone listening, if this conversation stirred something within you, take a moment to sit with it. Healing does not rush, it unfolds. And true healing begins not when we escape ourselves, but when we learn to meet our inner world with presence, patience, and an open heart. Until next time, you meet yourself with kindness and walk forward with an open heart. Thanks so much.